Live. Dr. Emmanuel, please unmute yourself. We are going live. I'm so sorry. Hello and welcome all respected colleagues. Today also we are going to another great day titled Anxiety and Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. This great event is related to Idym Mental Health Conference. So let's start with our great speaker. The first speaker will be Dr. Melissa, and Dr. Emmanuel, you will be after her, so please keep in touch. Let's start, please. Dr. Melissa, please open your mic.
Yes, I am. I'm ready.
Welcome. Ready. Please go ahead.
Can I begin? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and I'm very pleased to be here with you and to speak to you about obsessive compulsive disorders. Let's begin. According to the classification of the DSM, obsessive compulsive disorder, also known as OCD in English, is a disorder characterized by the presence of obsessions and or compulsions. Compulsions can occur both in children in childhood and in adulthood. Although the maximum incidence occurs between the age of 15 and 25. It affects about 2% of the general population. This means that out of 100 newborns, 2 or 3 will develop the disorder in their lifetime. For example, in Italy, my country, about 800,000 people are affected by obsessive compulsive disorder. It is a disorder that becomes chronic, albeit with fluctuating phases of improvement and worsening, but at times it worsens to the point of compromising functioning in different areas of life. It is rarely episodic and followed by complete remission of symptoms. The subject often feels obliged to act or think in the symptomatic way.
Dr. Melissa, I am sorry for interrupting you, but please try to adjust the voice from your side because something like echo. So please try to adjust your mic. So sorry for interrupting you.
Can I continue?
Yes, but just adjust the voice because some echo. Yes, you are okay now. Please continue.
Okay. The subject often feels obliged to act or think in the symptomatic way, and for this he tries to oppose and resist. Despite trying to counter and hide his actions or his thoughts, this effort does not help him at all to change his behavior. The central symptom is the presence of obsessions and compulsions, or obsessions only, for a significant time of the day, 1 hour or more a day, that interfere with daily activities, work, study, relationship, life, home or care, hygiene, etc. The presence of obsessions and compulsions involves a marked suffering, compromises the normal social and work functioning of the subject, and is not better justified by the other anxiety disorders or psychiatric diseases due to general medical conditions. What are obsessive compulsive disorders, the symptoms, and how they manifest themselves? Symptoms of OCD are characterized by first, repetitiveness, frequency, and persistence of obsessive activity. Intrusive thoughts recur to the mind frequently and persist in a lasting and continuous way. The feeling that this activity is forced and compulsive. Obsessions are ideas, thoughts, impulses, or images that suddenly arise in the mind and are perceived as intrusive. The person has the feeling that they break in their own, or that they are independent of the flow of thoughts that precedes them. Annoying, the person experiences discomfort with the content of frequency. Meaningless, the person has the feeling that they are irrational, exaggerated, or in any case not justified, or not linked to present reality. Compulsions are mental actions and or behaviors that occur in response to obsessions and that represent an attempt to solve them. They are usually followed by a sense of relief from the discomfort caused by the obsessions, even if only temporary relief. Some examples are thoughts like, I could get infected with COVID virus if I touch the door of the disco bathroom. I don't have to think about the names of the people I love in the hospital, otherwise they could get sick. If I don't check that all the files are closed, something bad will happen. I could say something bad without realizing it. For example, the obsession, my hands are full of dangerous germs, can be followed by the behavior of disinfecting hands with the disinfecting. And it is an attempt to remove the problem of a perceived or feared contamination, avoiding touching door handles or wearing gloves in an attempt to prevent the recurrence, wearing of the thought of being contaminated. Or in response to the obsession, I told the number that is bad for you. You can make a prayer. This represents an attempt to reassure oneself about the fear that something negative could happen to oneself or to others. Why are OCD symptoms a problem? The presence of symptoms is experienced with suffering and discomfort for several reasons. Obsessions are present constantly and repeatedly and leave no respite. Most of the day is occupied by images, tools, and or ideas that leave no space to devote themselves to anything else and make the subject exhausted. The content of obsessions is threatening and generates concern. Obsessive ideas and thoughts are anxious because they concern the fear of being exposed to danger. For example, I could get infected, I could damage my daughter, the house and the whole building could explode. And to do something responsible and guilty of this danger, making oneself immoral, bad, or dangerous people. It would be my superficiality's fault. I didn't do it when it was my duty to protect my family. And an obsessive idea, however, can also be problematic for the very fact of having been told of, for example, the subject may be obsessed with erotic thoughts or blasphemies. In these cases, the problem is given by the awareness that one's own mind has produced the thought, because the awareness implies in the subject the suspicion of being an immoral or dangerous person. If I am told about this bad thing about my husband, it means that I am a bad person and immoral. People with disorder usually hide their concerns. They perceive their behaviors and thoughts as absurd and disturbing, and they are ashamed of them. Frequent expressions in OCD sufferers are, I don't understand why I behave this way. Maybe I'm going crazy. Or if people knew I have these thoughts, they would think I'm crazy. A large part of the suffering of the OCD sufferers depends precisely on the fact of realizing the exaggerations or irrationality of their fears and behaviors. This awareness pushes the counteract obsessions and compulsions with effects that generally aggravate symptoms and suffering. For example, in an attempt to avoid feeling crazy or ridiculous in getting up at night to check gas, the person may decide to repeatedly recheck the gas before going to bed in a preventive manner, even if after the first check it is already safe, that he has closed it and is no longer worried. How many types of obsessive compulsive disorders are there? Unlike other disorders, OCD manifests itself with heterogeneous symptoms and phenomena. In the literature, there are a great variety of classifications and categories of OCD, but based on the type of obsessions and compulsions that arise, it is possible to identify some main subtypes. First, obsessive-compulsive control disorder. In this type of obsessions and compulsions involve recurring fears and protracted and repeated checks related to the doubt of having forgotten something, having made a mistake, or damaged something or someone inadvertently. Those who suffer from this type of disorder come to think that their own action or omission is the cause of misfortune. Examples of typical checks include closing the front door, gas or water, counting a morning well, or not writing blasphemous words. Secondly, obsessive-compulsive contamination disorder. In this case, we are dealing with obsessions connected to the risk of contagion or contamination and cleaning compulsions. For example, people who suffer from it are tormented by the persistent worry that they or a family member may get sick by coming into contact with some invisible germ or toxic substance. Contaminating agents include substances such as urine, blood, sweat, soaps, solvents, and generally speaking, all objects or people potentially carrying these substances. Contact with the treated substances is followed by rituals aimed at neutralizing the contamination. For example, rituals of repeated washing of hands, clothes, or personal items. Third, obsessive-compulsive disorder from order and symmetry. The disorder manifests itself as intolerance to disorder or asymmetry. Books, sheets, pens, towels, videotapes, clothes, plates must be perfectly aligned, symmetrical, and ordered according to a precise logic, for example, size, color. When the patient perceives asymmetry or disorders, he also undertakes for many hours to rearrange these objects until it falls in place. Obsessions with order and symmetry can also affect your own body. For example, hair styling, clothes, etc. Fourth, excessive superstition, obsessive compulsive disorder. The person affected manifests superstitious thoughts carried to excess. The outcome of events is linked to the performances of certain gestures, to the vision of certain objects, air or colors, to the sound of certain noises. To cancel a negative effect, the subject suffering from OCD, from excessive the superstition, must implement the right ritual, adapting according to the situation that caused him the state of anxiety. Repeat in the appropriate number of times to avoid some misfortune. For example, praying 3 times after seeing an image named negative. Fifth, obsessive related to taboo thoughts, aggressive sexual religious obsessions. The subject who suffers from this type of manifests obsessive thoughts regarding the occurrence of highly improbable situations, but which would be intolerable to him. The content of such obsessions can often be religious, social, or sexual. This is the case of those who are obsessed with the fear of being or becoming a homosexual or pedophile, or those who are terrified of being seized by sudden and uncontrollable aggression and hurting those around them. In such patients, the obsessive episode is often followed by restoring internal dialogue, which represents an attempt at a solution to the discomfort triggered by the obsession. Triggering causes. As with so many psychiatric disorders, there is not yet a sufficiently robust and shared literature on the causes of OCD. To explain the causes by psychosocial explanations are usually used. From a strictly psychological point of view, there is evidence that some experiences and some educational characteristics can strongly contribute to the genesis of OCD. There is a large scientific literature that identifies an exaggerated sense of responsibility in investing in protection from guilt or an element of it, a central factor in the development of OCD. There is a sample empirical and clinical evidence that fear of guilt and a sense of responsibility predict a tendency to have obsessions and compulsions, and that the manipulation of responsibility affects the intensity and frequency of obsessive behaviors in both patients and the non-clinical specimens. Strong moral rigidity, often the result of a particular severe education, with great attention to the rules and with the disproportionate and or difficult to predict punishments, is also an element that is generally found in the history of people suffering from obsessive compulsive disorder. These are educational aspects that most likely favor exaggerated responsibility and sensitivity to guilt. The course and consequences of obsessive compulsive disorders. The OCD tends to become chronic, albeit with the phases of improvement that alternate with the phases of worsening. Its course is rarely episodic. In an estimated percentage between 5 and 10%, the disorder has a gradually worsening course. Considering that usually the onset is at a young age, it is a disorder that mainly affects young people, therefore with a long life expectancy. This amplifies the negative consequences in terms of costs and trade-off involved. From a personal point of view, OCD can have serious consequences in terms of existential costs. Since it usually strikes at a young age, it risks compromising the course of study, the possibility of working, the normal relationship life. For example, people with obsessive compulsive disorder often take much longer to graduate or keep a diploma. Sometimes even give up. At work, they often have to settle for low responsibility tasks. Obsessive compulsive disorder therefore considerably reduces the capacity for existential fulfillment, also negatively reflecting on the quality and duration of friendly and emotional relationships. 50% of patients are unable to maintain a couple relationship. From a social point of view, the fact that the disorder tends to become chronic implies high prolonged costs in terms of assistance and work capacity. People with OCD often work in a discontinuous and not very productive way. A third and frequent consequence of the disorder is a worsening of the life of the family too. The person can have symptoms so pervasive as to become disabling not only for himself, but also to prevent the normal functionings of family life. For example, the relatives are often directly involved in the compulsions. To contain the discomfort of the subject, they feel forced to do themselves repeated washing, checks, or other types of rituals, or continually called into question with repeated requests for a reassurance about the content of the obsessions. For example, the patient takes a turn interrogating parents, partners, children, siblings with questions such as, are you sure that touching a red shirt does not get infected? Will I have closed the door properly? Involvement in symptoms can be exhausting for family members, and this over time can also degrade the quality of relationships. How to recover from OCD treatment and therapy? International guidelines indicate that the most effective treatments in drug therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy is aimed in the short term to reduce the quantity and frequency of symptoms, and in the longer term to make the subject less vulnerable to the cognitive issues, a mechanism that contributed to the genesis and maintenance of OCD. The elective treatment technique is exposure accompanied with response prevention. Exposure in its various variants, gradual or prolonged exposure by images in reality, consists in putting a subject in contact with a stimulus or situation that elicits discomforts for a period of time longer than that which the subject normally tolerates. For example, a person who has among his symptoms is asked to avoid touching the door handles, to touch a handle and to maintain contact for 2 minutes. Experimenting with anxiety is in the goals of the technique. However, the patient is helped both by graduating exposure and throughout preventive interventions that motivate and reduce the threat of contact. Response prevention consists in blocking the symptomatic behaviors normally implemented by the patient after contact with the interfering situation. The behavior is blocked for a longer time than that in which the patient is naturally able to postpone the response. For example, taking up the previous case, the patient is asked not to wash his hands after touching the handle for an hour. To the techniques of exposure and prevention of the response, cognitive behavioral therapy combines interventions directly aimed at changing the contents and cognitive processes that contribute to the genesis and maintenance of OCD. For example, the evaluation of a protocol directly aimed at reducing sensitivity to guilt is underway, since there is a numerous evidence of the central role that reduced tolerance to the threat of guilt plays in the disorder. The percentage of cure recorded in the literature vary between 50 and 85%. Cognitive behavioral therapy in the outcome studies appears superior to any other form of psychotherapeutic treatment if we consider the reduction of symptoms, the stability of the change, the side effects, the cost-benefit ratio, the clinical improvement. In comparison with the drug therapy, the cognitive behavioral treatment appears to have comparable efficacy in the short and medium term, but the advantage seems to be in the stability of the change and in the fewer side effects. And now I want to speak to you about the obsession with healthy eating, orthorexia. Attention to eating well and a healthy lifestyle is now an integral part of our society. There is no day without the media dispensing advice and suggestion on what and how to eat, how much food affects our health, and how much a particular diet all allows you to lose weight in a short time. Or rather, it allows us to significantly improve our well-being. The result is perhaps that of transforming the pleasure of the table into an anxious relationship with everything related to nutrition. Although each of us can benefit from healthy changes to their diets and their lifestyle, so for some, the commitment to healthy eating can degenerate into a real obsession that takes the name of orthorexia. What is orthorexia nervosa? The term, initially coined by Bratman and Knight in 1997, describes a condition characterized by an eating behavior that follows the pathological obsession with a biologically pure and healthy diet. This condition is often associated with a restrictive diet, which, in an attempt to achieve optimal health, can lead to serious medical conditions related to malnutrition, as well as emotional instability and social isolation. Symptoms of orthorexia. Orthorexics are concerned about the quality of the foods in their diet rather than the quantity. They take a considerable time to examine the origin, for example, if the vegetables have been exposed to pesticides. They check the processing, for example, if the nutritional content could have been lost during cooking. They study the packaging, for example, if the labels provide enough information to judge the quality of specific ingredients of the foods that are put on the market. The obsession with the quality of food in terms of the nutrition value of foods and their purity arises from the desire to optimize one's physical health and well-being. A similar concern in the case of orthorexia can trigger the complex eating behaviors. For example, internal rules on which foods can be eaten with each meal or a specific time of the day. Believes that the optimal digestion of a certain food must take in a specific amount of time. Outside of meals, a considerable amount of time is spent planning and making daily meals. This is in order to be able to pay attention to thoughts about what will be eaten, but also to the collection of information regarding each ingredient, the preparation of the ingredients, and finally, the food intake. What are the consequences of orthorexia? Since the focus is on pure and healthy foods, people with orthorexia nervosa tend to avoid foods that may contain genetically modified ingredients, as well as those that contain significant quantities of fats, sugars, salt, or other unwanted components. Such dietary restrictions usually result in the omission of essential nutrients in daily energy needs, resulting in an unbalanced and insufficient diet. What is the impact on the quality of life? Psychological orthorexic individuals experience intense frustration when their food rituals are impeded or interrupted in some way. They feel disgust when the purity of food seems to be violated, as well as an emotional guilt and a disgust towards themselves, depending on the degree of adherence to the internal system of rules that revolves around the subjective perception of what is right or wrong. Social isolation, and it is precisely the rigidity of the rules and beliefs related to food that can produce another negative consequence on a psychological level: social isolation. Sharing a meal is one of the key ways we socialize and build interpersonal relationships. But for people suffering from orthorexia, the occasion of meal can turn into a real minefield. Eating food that is not considered poor or food that someone else has prepared generates considerable anxiety. Here, the meal does not represent an opportunity for joy and serene conviviality. Rather, it becomes fertile ground for a whole series of negative thoughts and emotional states, such as not to allow one to derive enjoyment from food. Quality of food is superior to the quality of life. Orthorexic subjects firmly believe that they can maintain a healthy diet as long as they live alone and in full control of everything around them. They feel right to eat foods that they consider to be healthy, and this prompts them to assume an attitude of moral superiority. Consequently, they do not wish to interact with others who have different eating habits from their own. The quality of food prevails over one's personal and moral values, over social, work, and affective relationships, reaching the point of compromising the overall functioning and well-being of the individual. The vicious circle of orthorexia. Those suffering from orthorexia hyper-control their diet and carefully select each individual food by evaluating its quality. Over-investment in healthy eating and self-control generate a sense of superiority over those who don't. At the same time, whenever you fail breaking the rule, strong emotions of guilt, anger, sadness, and anxiety are generated. And it is precisely as a result of those negative emotions that the behavior of the rule itself further stiffens, thus helping to maintain the virtuous circle. Disorder, although not included in the latest edition of the Statistical Diagnostic Manual of Mental Disorders, recently orthorexia nervosa has been the subject of scientific research that has stimulated international debate on whether or not to include this disorder within the official nosography of the psychiatric world. In this regard, some researchers from the University of Colorado published an article in 2014 in the Psychosomatic Journal entitled Microthinking about micronutrients, a case of a transition from obsessions about healthy eating to near-fatal orthorexia nervosa, and proposed the diagnostic criteria, in which they proposed the specific diagnostic criteria from this disorder. And there is a little difference between orthorexia and anorexia. some of the features described above recall symptoms of anorexia nervosa. In fact, orthorexia and anorexia share perfectionistic and hypercontrollic traits. They tend to view adherence to their diet as synonymous and with self-discipline, and interpret transgression as a failure of their own self-control. Given the strong overlap between anorexia and orthorexia, research has shown that the latter may constitute a less severe variant of anorexia or a possible coping strategy for anorexic subjects. In particular, the study by Segura Marcia and colleagues indicates that orthorexia is often associated with, at a clinical level, with the transition to less severe forms of eating disorders. And my speech is ended, and I thank you all for listening to me. I hope you liked my speech, and I thank you all for the great opportunity to be a speaker in this important for this important topic.
Yes, my dear sister, you did amazing lecture. Thank you very much for adding a lot to our knowledge. Thank you. Regarding your lecture, you touched a very important point related to crisis, related to COVID-19. So I need to acknowledge you by your good choice, because you chose this point because it's full of psychological problem. Full of something like diseases and this and so on. So let's congratulate you by your great choice. You choose very important point. Thanks a lot, and you are most welcome. We are very happy by your presence and by your participation. Regarding me and regarding myself, generally, I'm very happy to hear from your side, because you did amazing and awesome lecture. Most welcome. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. And now we need to return to the second speaker. So let's call our dear colleague, Dr. Emmanuel. Dr. Emmanuel, are you with us? Dr. Elizabeth, please be ready. You will be, inshallah, after him. Okay? So please be ready. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Dr. Emmanuel, please open your mic. Yes. I need to highlight you.
I've already opened it. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Most welcome. Most welcome. Please go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you, my sister.
Most welcome.
I just thank you very much for the opportunity that we are being given here to talk to the world. Today, as we are aware that we are talking about anxiety and the obsessive compulsive disorder. I'm not going to talk much about this because my sister has already highlighted major areas in this on this topic, but I'll just share a few rights on this one. So, first of all, let me start by anxiety. Anxiety is one of the things that is contributing negatively to the world, especially among the humanities, because once we have got an anxiety think in our mind, then in the life itself, it may not go on well, because an anxiety on its own, it's a disease. It can bring a number of negative consequences on the life of a person. So anxiety is when you are not okay with a certain situation, or you are not okay with what you do, or you are not okay with the way you are looking, or you are not okay with the people that you are living with, or you are not okay with the situation where you are, or with the work that you are doing. So because you are not okay, you don't feel good with what you are doing, you don't feel good with the way you are looking, you don't feel good with the disease that you're suffering from, you don't feel good what getting from the ground, or what you are eating, and whatever that is there. So this brings something in your mind that makes you be not comfortable with what you have, or with what you're doing, or with you are being touched with. So anxiety contributes negatively to a number of areas in our life. one of the negative part that it may contribute is when we talk about a student. If we have a student in a class who has got an anxiety, what will happen is that whenever the teacher is teaching, this student will not be able to listen and capture what the teacher is teaching him or her. Why? Because he is keeping or she's keeping something in his or her mind that is not making him comfortable. So anxiety can contribute to a number of negative results in our life. Why? Because we are not comfortable with something that we are doing. So, for example, if someone is having an anxiety, for example, if someone is having an anxiety, what will happen is that you will not benefit from the food that you are eating. You may be taking food that has got all the necessary nutrients in that particular food, but if you have an anxiety in your heart, then all those nutrients that are in those particular foods that you are taking will not be beneficial to your life, because an anxiety on its own is a disease that may take out or may take away all the benefits that you are getting from food. And another thing that we have seen people deciding to go suicide. Why? Because they have been keeping something in their mind in a form of an anxiety. That's why here today we are talking about an anxiety that will result in a disorder. That is to say, if you keep it in your mind and you are living with it for a long time, what will happen is at the end of the day, you are going to develop a certain problem in your life. So that problem, then it tends to disorder. That's why we have people here in the world who have got what we call a mental disorder. Sometimes a mental disorder may result from anxiety. It may result from something that is obsessive and compulsive disorder. So what we are saying today is that when we are talking about all these things that may negatively result in our life, so we are saying that we need to stay away from these things. And one more thing that we have to do is that when we are having something that is not good for us or something that we are not comfortable of, let us share it with other people, because an anxiety is something that may end up with you share it with other people. We know a problem shared is half solved. So when you share a certain thing, a certain stress that you have with your friend, with the relatives, with your teacher, with your boss, with everyone that you trust, and you are trying to ease that anxiety little by little. One more other thing that should be considered is that whenever we have got an anxiety or anything in that form of that nature, if we have our friends, if you are not isolated, if you are not living lonely, we have got friends to chat with, we have got friends to talk with, we have got friends to laugh with. This makes us to forget the problem that we have. This makes us to forget the anxiety that we have. So the anxiety itself will run away from us. Why? Because now we are putting ourselves in a place or at a place whereby we have got friends who will try to calm us down. We have got friends who will try to solve the problem together with us, with the friends who will look at the problem as not we see it. Because some of our friends have already lost anxiety. When we have the problem that we have, we live alone, a lonely life. Sometimes we may look into the problem that we have as big as a mountain. So we feel like I know this mountain is very high. I cannot climb it. So as high as it is, then I may not be able to climb it over. So that's the problem that we have. But when we have some friends, when we have some resources, we know that the mountain that we is very high is not as high as we think. It is really very small that we can climb it easily. And one other thing is that when we are talking about anxiety, sometimes it may be the situation where we are living. Maybe we're in a family, and the family does not have peace at all. Maybe between the husband and the woman herself. So, facing such problems in a family, then we need to share the problems with our friends. We need to share with them. This will result in a. So once a disorder has occurred in a human being, then it will take long to heal. It will take time to heal. Why? Because a disorder is not just a disease. It's something that has happened in our life, or something that has happened in the body that needs technical advice, and also that needs some other experts in terms of those medical experts to deal with it. So it is not just a mere disease. It is something that is bigger than what we may think, because we're talking about something that is a disorder. So why does this come? It has come because we have been storing anxiety in our life for a long time. It has brought in something that is very hard for us to solve. So that's why that anxiety and obsessive compulsive disorder may come. Why? Because we are storing something in our mind or in our heart, and that is not being shared to our friends. And then as it grows, then it may cause a disorder in our life. I've seen some of the children in class, a lot of children out there in class that got anxieties, that are keeping anxieties in their lives. Why? Because maybe their families, his father and mother or her father and mother, they keep on fighting. So this brings some anxiety in the childhood. When the child comes to class, comes to school, then the child will not be able to capture the information that they're delivering in class. So this is another challenge that you may also look into it like something that is contributing negatively to our children. Because if they have got these anxieties, sometimes when they go to school, we may say, no, this child is not so intelligent. This child has got many problems to solve. This child has got many challenges in class. He is not able to capture with his or her friends in class. So these are some of the problems that have contributed to. Why? Because maybe the parents themselves have been storing in their mind. They have been storing anxiety in their mind, so not in their family. So if the family is not peace, how should we expect the children to have peace of mind at all? If the children are living in a family whereby the parents are not happy, the parents are not living in peace, then this will negatively result on the children, because once they go to school, they may not capture what the teachers teaching them. Even if you go to work, even if you go to your office, if you have got an anger in your mind, if you have got an anxiety, something that you are thinking of badly, that it will bring a bad result on you. So that is an anxiety, something thinking that it will bring a bad result to you. So what will happen if this bad happens to me? What am I going to do? So that's an anxiety. So if you are going to office having that in mind, then you are not going to work properly in office. You are not going to cooperate well with your friends in office. You are not going to do your work clearly. You are going to have some problems. Why? Because you are storing anger in your mind. You are storing things, or maybe in a form of an anxiety, something that you are worried of, something that you are much worried of, something that you don't know if it happens. How are you going to solve the problem? So that's why we are saying that we should at least make sure that we don't store anxiety in our hearts, because it will result negatively on our lives. And that is the result is a disorder. So a disorder is something that not to be corrected easily. It's something that will take a long time to be corrected, because a disorder has happened either in your brain. So a disorder has happened in your brain. To correct that particular problem in the brain, it is really very difficult, because the brain is made up of some cells that do not divide. There is no what we call a cell division in the brain. Not at all. So the cells that we have in the brain are the only ones that we have, and we grow up with them. So if there is something in a form of a disorder that has happened in the brain, so it will be very hard, very difficult to correct that problem easily. So that's why we are saying that we should stay away from what we are calling today as anxiety or OCD. That is to say, we should at least tell our children, we should at least tell our friends, we should at least talk to our wives and husbands. We should also talk to our relatives about the bad consequences that may come if we store anxiety in our hearts. I should also tell them the consequences that may result that will not be corrected in a form of a disorder, that has happened in our. So these are some of the things that we should be thinking of when we are talking about anxiety. More especially, I'm talking about anxiety because I've seen more people committing suicide in the world. I can give an example of my country, Malawi. Malawi is one of the highest countries in the world, which is affected by what we call mental health retardation. Most of the people, you may last a week, you may not last a week without hearing that 2 or more people have committed suicide. It's that are being caused in the families. Most of the families are breaking it due to economical crisis that we have. So because if a husband doesn't know where to get the money to support his family now, but the wife is pushing on, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. Now the husband himself now becomes tired of that, and the result, he decided to commit suicide. So it is something that has been kept in mind for a long time as anxiety, and because he doesn't have a solution to that particular problem, so the decision that he makes at the end of the day is just to commit suicide. So that's why we are saying that this anxiety may result in a disorder, because once you have committed suicide, there is no any other solution. You are gone. That's what you've lost the person. So that is to say, what we should keep in mind is that let us have counseling. So the counseling will help us much in terms of anxiety, in terms of stress, in terms of all these disorders. We need to have some good counselors who may give us counseling on whatever we are thinking, on whatever we are worried of, because they know how to counsel us, they know how to direct us, they know how we can solve that particular problem. But if we keep the problem ourselves and we store it for a long time, the result will be a disorder. So as I've already put it, may face problems, or it is very hard to solve that particular disorder. So that's a very big problem that we are facing in the world today in terms of anxiety and obsessive compulsive disorder. That is making a lot of people to fail to live harmoniously with their relatives, or even with their families, or even with their workmates and many other people out there. So this is what I wanted to share with you this afternoon. Thank you very much for the opportunity it was given to me. Thank you very much. May God bless you. Thank you.
Amin. God bless you also. Really, you did amazing lecture. However, I can see, and all of us can see, that there is darkness, but the brightness of mind can overcome any darkness. So hats off to you. Thank you very much for your lecture. I can conclude that you covered many critical points, like you covered students inside the schools. You talked also about social problems between mothers and fathers and family members. Really, you touched very important points. Thanks a lot, Dr. Emmanuel, and that is you. We know you very well, that you are one of our great attendees every day. So hats off to you. Hats off to your efforts. You insisted to deliver your lecture. However, we can see that there is darkness. So appreciation to you and greetings to Malawi. Thank you very much. And let's move to our next speaker. She is my dear, lovely sister, Dr. Elizabeth. Dr. Elizabeth, are you ready?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Iman. Good evening.
Most welcome. I'm very happy by being host of the day, and I'm very happy to see you. Okay. So
yes,
let's
Dr.
Yes, please continue.
Okay, I will share my screen. Wait.
Yes, please. Can you do it?
Yes. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, excellent, excellent.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, we want to continue with this very important topic because it's not only one problem for teenagers, it's about for all the people that have some problem, obsessive compulsive disorder, and of course the anxiety. Then we need to check what is happening with this, and taking a bit all that told our friends before the knee, we can to say that this obsessive compulsive disorder is characterized by a pattern and thoughts and fears. These are obsessions, yes, and these have to be repetitive. And then they will be compulsions. And obsessions and compulsion, they always want to interfere in our daily activities and cause a great emotional problem. Here we can find important words: obsessions, compulsions, and emotions. Yes, and then now we got to check what happened with all these three very important words, and what can we do with all this. We have here four exactly examples about any one of these topics. This is about obsession, anxiety, release, and compulsion. Why? Because a lot of times the people, or exactly the teenagers, the young people, a lot of times can't understand what is happening. What happened? Why I feel this? Why I am doing this? Sometimes they can do a lot of things, and in some moments they are thinking, why is happening me this? Why I'm doing this? And then the first that we need to do is know exactly what is this, how one obsession can take the way for one anxiety, and after this for one compulsion, and of course to the relief. Yes, and in this case, when we understand this, we can try to think what is happening. Then we can start to try to help us or to help to another person. And now, come to check the next. We can know and understand that we have a lot of obsessive compulsive disorders. Yes, it's not only the food, it's not only to feel depression, etc., etc. We can see in this picture all these obsessive compulsive disorder and how we can understand each one of these. Then we can check all this, and I would like that the people that is listen today can understand each one of these specific learning difficulties. Yeah, this is a very, very important program, more in the students in the school, but a lot of teachers can understand this. Why? Because maybe we cannot think that this is related some disorder with the education, with this part to teach or to learn. Then this is the first that we need to understand. We are teachers, we are parents, and as friends, as brothers, I don't know, each level that we can to have. Here to can to find autistic spectrum disorder. Anxiety, of course, Tourette's, ODD, development or disorder, gifted, sensory integration disorder, auditory processing, depressions, ADHD, ADD. Then we can find all these. There are a lot of things, and then what can I understand what happened with me or with my children or with the students, with my parents, with my wife, with my husband, etc. Because we have to remember that all the people can to feel this in some moment in the life. after this, we can start to check all of this. We can to think what is happening. I tell Melissa, I tell our friend the doctor too. We can to try to check and find. Then, okay, I can understand you. Somebody can tell me, I can understand you. You tell me a lot of things, a lot of definitions about each topic, but I can't understand you yet. Can you give me another example, please? Okay, maybe in this case, we can understand what is happening. I can to tell a lot of things, but I can't. If I say all this to one student, one teenager, one young people, maybe can understand it. Then I want to share with you one small video. Give me a second, please.
Yes, my dear sister. The floor is yours.
Thank you.
Most welcome.
Sure. Come to see this video. I hope that you can listen.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Now we have to think about it. What happened? I will share again my screen. Oh, 1 second. Let me stop the video. Sorry. Okay, then now we can understand a bit more after this video what happened with me, with myself, with my children, with my students. They have one very big obsession for something. And what I need to do, okay, we need to do some steps, and we now go to check it. Here is a very important. Melissa told us about this can be psychological. Yes, it's true. This is true. And I think that this have to be a lot of with emotions and how this can to have some influence in the answer. Yes, then we come to check because I thought in a lot of conference, as you feel is as you do all that you do around your context with your friends, with your parents, with your family. As you feel is as same that you will be feel to the another person. Then in this case, I can understand that emotions and all these disorders is very, very close related. The first that we have to do is this. This is the emotions periodic table. And here we can see the first basic emotions in the people: love, joy, surprise, anger, sadness, etc. Yeah, and for example, this is very important because a lot of times I can see, I feel in love, I feel love. Okay, but I feel too empathy, serenity, tendencies, compassion, sympathy, all these things, all these very nice emotions that I can feel. All the people try to feel it every day. Yes, And this table is very, very important because we can check that maybe if I feel, I don't know, nostalgia, for example, sorry, it's because I feel sadness. Yes, I feel this. Then this is very, very important. And I always say to the people that then stay with me in this conference that please check it every day. How do you feel every day? What of all these emotions, basic or secondary emotions, how do you feel today? This is very, very important because after this, we can decide if I need to do with myself and I can stay very good all the day. I can feel good all the day or not. Yes, I can be very sadness or interest or can joy or can love or maybe no. Maybe I am stressed. I have confusions or terror. Anyway, yes. Then this is the first part of this activity. Now, we check all this every morning. I check, okay, I feel optimist. I feel with hate. I feel envy. I don't know. Maybe everywhere. Okay. Then after this, now, I would like that you tell me, how do you feel today? We check now that we can to have a lot of emotions. Some are basic and others are secondary, but I can see now a lot of emotions. Now, how do you feel today? How do you feel? Number one, number two, number three, or four? How do you feel now? This is very important because maybe I have a big problem or a big problem, but I don't know why, because I can understand how I feel today. Then, if somebody wants to think how I feel, for example, I feel today, number one, number two, number three, because I am very happy. I feel number five, because I feel very, very nice to stay today with you, sharing here. Okay, now I understand how I feel today. After this, I know if I don't feel so good, maybe 8 or 9 or 10 or 11, I don't know, then what is happening with me? What happening? Why I feel this? Oh, okay, maybe I have a problem in the school, with my family, with my parents, with my children, and what I need to do. It's very, very important that we can understand what is happening when the problem is only a bit, or it's small, very, very small. Because if we can, or we permit that this continue, this will be big and big and big and more big each time until we can do nothing alone. We will need help. Yes? Then we got to talk after this about emotions in anorexia and another disorders. Why? I want to take this as example because this is very common. Obviously, with the teenagers is more, but too with some adults, persons, this is very hard problem now. And after COVID, I was checking on this, and I can saw that this is a big problem because as they are 24/7 with the husband, with the parents, with the kids, the people don't feel so good. Then we have to check it. For example, what happens if we are talking about emotions in anorexia and other disorders? What do you feel? What do you think that you will feel if somebody they telling you every time one of these words or all these words or a lot of words of this in this picture? What will happen? You feel eating, starvation, disorder, anxiety, anxiety, dieting, loss, psychological, weight, health, body impressions, blah, 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 blah. What happened with you if somebody every day, all the time, stay telling you something about these words. Of course, you will stay with, maybe feel the first time you feel angry, maybe after this you can feel sad, or after this you can start to think, oh, will be true? Will be true? This is true that the people is tell me, they say, my friends, my parents, my boyfriend, my all the people tell me maybe this, and then is when the people start in depression. Yeah. And what happened after this? We can start, okay, I have to do something because I can stay here. I feel sickness. I feel I would like one very nice lifestyle. I would like to feel better that the people tell me another good words, not only this. And we start with this problem. And then the girl stop to eat, stop to drink water, or stop eat, and is when start the problems. And what happened with this? But now we have to do something for make it. We need to resolve it. A lot of times we can do it alone. Then we need help, and we need to check. First, we need to accept that we have a problem, a big problem. Yes, but why? Why start this problem? Because I don't know how I feel. I don't know how can use these emotions, good or bad. In the first moment, I don't. I didn't know how to use it emotions. Yeah. Then now we will check this bad area about emotions. Yes, if you remember, we check first all the emotions, good and bad. And now after this, how I feel and how this, a lot of words that the people tell us can be not so good for us. And then we can stay in this area, in the bad area about emotion. What happened if this somebody or a lot of people tell me all these bad words? Well, I stay feel me sadness, with a lot of insecurity, stress. I will be very confusion. I can be a terror about because oh no, all the people don't like to a lot of people. I don't like how I see him in the mirror, etc., etc. Maybe I can feel jealousy because my friend is different to me, and I don't like. I can feel pessimist here because no, I never will can do as 2 months ago, 6 months ago, 1 year ago. Then all these bad emotions go hand by hand with the disorders. This is why we need to be very, very careful with this and understand which kind of emotions I feel now and what I have to do. For example, I have sadness. Why? Why? Because I feel nostalgia. I feel nostalgia because 1 year ago, I had 10 kilos less than now, for example. Or I am very sad because 1 year ago I feel better. The people tell me, "Do you look very nice?" And now I don't feel. The people tell me you see very fat, etc., etc. Then, when I understand that I feel nostalgia because I am feel sadness, what need I to do? I know how I feel now. I know why. Then what I need to do? Well, maybe I can do something immediately, maybe no. Then what we need to think very quiet, very quickly. What I need to do? If I need help to somebody, if I don't need help, and after this, we can start to work in myself, in my emotions. Why? Because this will be very, very important for don't take the way about disorders. Yes? If you have disorders, you can to feel better, you can help to more people, you can stay a good lifestyle. Yes, but all this depends of these emotions, how you can to use this bad emotion. How to say, I understand that today I feel sadness, I feel interest, I feel hate, I feel frustration, all these bad emotions, and work in this immediately. Okay? Well, then if we have obsessive compulsive disorder, what to do? What can I do with all this? Because I don't know, I feel bad, I feel sick, I feel sad, I don't have more friends, all the people don't like stay with me. What I need to do? Okay, here have some things that we can do, and these are very, very important. The first, this can be for myself, for my students, for my children, for anybody. The first is that let him express himself. Yes, this is very, very important. I need talk how I feel, what I need, what don't like, etc. And this is another very, very important. Encourage her to go to therapy. Why? Because a lot of times I say, no, I'm okay. I don't need this, go to therapy. No, if I decide I can start to lose weight, if I decide I can feel better, no. But really, this is not true. Then we need to have this encouraged for go to therapy. This is very, very important. Accept that we need therapy. Yeah. Another, don't ridicule their compulsions. A lot of friends, but really are not all friends, can do it. And this is very sad and this is very bad because this will be bigger the problem. Then we need to be very, very careful with this. Don't interrupt them when performing their compulsions. Why? Because this is one very important step, and we need to be very careful, take the time and wait, and then all this finish, and then this process in this moment finish, and after this, we can start to talk. We can start to try to think, to understand what is happening, what we do for ourselves or for another person. It's very important to coordinate with the therapist to help carry out challenge week by week. Why? Because I need, if I have some problem, I need to check that I am working, that this very hard work that I am doing, I need to know that I am doing a good thing, a good way. Why? Because a lot of times I feel, or somebody can feel that this is not working, that this is not good for him or for her or for me. And when we know that we are working and we are do a good job, this is very, very nice. How can do it? Well, talking with our therapist and check the challenge week by week. And of course, notice it that English is hard some stress management behaviors. Why? Because we need to check all this. We need to be very, very careful, understand all the time. And after this, we can start to work in myself in all that we need. Then all these points are very, very important. We have not to lose to view because this can be very, very important for somebody, for myself, for yourself, for your students, for, I don't know, who are close to you. Yes? And, well, the most important, a lot of time when we have a problem or a big problem, we want stay alone. I don't like talk with nothing with anybody, nothing. I don't like nothing. I don't want nothing. Yeah. But the best talk with somebody. Talk, 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 talk. Is the better that we can to do. Yes. Maybe it will be very hard the first time, but after this, if we can start to understand what is happening, how I am doing all this, and the most important, I can do something much better for me, for myself, for my students, for my children. This is the best. But first, I need talk, talk, talk. And if you see, for example, if you have some student that have some problem, then you can see that he or she have a problem about this topic. Try to do that. They can talk with you. Yes, you can start to talk about it with some example, or why not? I can say, okay, when I went very young, I have a problem about this topic, blah, blah, blah. And then they can understand that you are only a teacher, you are only a person. A lot of times the students see to the teachers more than one person, and they say, no, they don't happen this situation with him or with her because she's a teacher, he's a teacher. This cannot happen with him. And this is not true. And this is something very, very important that the students or the children need to know about all the adults. Yeah? Okay. Well, then the most important, talk. Please talk always. And well, that's all. I hope that this can help you and help to another persons and all the people that want or that need this information, that need this help. And of course, we are here for help if somebody needs help. Of course, that that you have with somebody who can talk. And thank you very much for the invitation, Dr. Iman. I am very happy to stay today with you and very happy to see you again. Thank you, all friends, speakers too. Congratulations.
Thank you, my dear sister, and congratulations to you also, because really you did very smart and comprehensive lecture. You added a lot to our knowledge. I love your way of describing problems. You are doing differentiation between many terms to be able to differentiate. We need to know. So thanks a lot for starting your lecture by these terms. And also I need to thank you again because of the periodic table. In chemistry we have.
Yes,
But
we need this every day. I always say to in all my conference when I use this table, please take this table, print it, and put it in your room, in your door. Yeah. Yes. And check how do you feel? What happened with you? Yeah. If you feel good, it's very good, important. It's very nice. But if not, what happened? And what do you need to do? Then I think that this is very, very important because if you feel good, you can do that more person feel good. But if you don't feel good, will be the same with your students, with your parents, with your wife, with your husband, anybody. It's the same. Then do you have now this table and please use it and all your students.
Yes, we need to support ourselves before supporting others. We need to be strong people and we need to support ourselves. I love your way also for talking about how to support others, also how to support yourself. It's very important to say talk. We need to say, yesterday we said listen, today we are saying talk. So let's talk and let's listen. We need to focus on ourselves, how to be away, very far away from any bad emotions. We need to be positive people. We need to be peaceful people, because regarding education, if we have a peaceful person as educator, we are in love with him or her. For example, in my faculty, I have one example. So I'm in love with her. If even if there is any problem in my life, I can see her in dreams as a supporter. So she is inside my mind. Also, we need to be this in the life of our students. So we need to support others, and also we need to be great supportive for ourselves. So we can summarize the issue in two words: talk and listen. Listening is a responsibility. I'm feeling a
Yes.
responsibility towards my students. Don't say I'm not at home. No, it's a responsibility of educator as responsibility of a family. We need to listen our students. Maybe there are some critical issues they can't talk with their families. They need something like complaining any bad situation in their homes. So they need anyone to listen by wisdom. We need to listen to them. We need to support them. We need also to be a great listener, and we need to do analysis to all speech. Really, I studied psychology because of my students, because many of them are in love to talk to me. I'm in love to listen to them. But I said to myself, maybe I am not doing this in a very qualified manner because it's out of my specialization. So I tried to study psychology. Because of this, we need to do it in a very qualified manner. I think I have an advice to all countries and to all educators. Please educate psychology to all educators. Before educating science, we need to be psychological supporter. But if we can't do, how can we do? What is the required reaction at that situation, for example? So I'll be harmful. I'll be not good enough. I'll be not supportive. For example, if they are crying or having some tears, what can I do? I need to be stop here. I need to talk here. So we need to do it in a highly qualified manner, and not only try. No, we need to study well this issue. We need, I think, all educators must study psychology to support their students.
Yeah, this is true because, in fact, before than teachers, we are persons, and we
Yes.
need to be very good health, emotional health as persons. But after persons, I am teacher. Then I am share with you, with my students, all that I feel as persons, not as teacher. This is very, very important point. Yeah, because, for example, in Mexico, in Latin America, when I was talking with a lot of teachers, then they told me the same. Never told us before that we are first persons, not teachers. Yeah, you are persons first, and you need to be careful with yourself, with your body, with your mind, with your head, with all you, because it's that you give to your parents, your children, your co-workers, your students. Yeah, then you need to be very, very careful with you, with yourself, in all completely. Not only a good breakfast, not only a good car, a good job. No, 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 no. There are a lot of things more important that we need to check on this. And after this, we can do a lot of things for more persons, for more children.
Yes, love itself is a currency. It doesn't matter that you have specific type of car and so on. The issue that love itself is a currency, appreciation, respecting others, and such important values is highly required. When we are doing or delivering our lectures, it will give us a positivity. You said talk, but I need to say not only talk. If you can't talk, you need to draw, you need to write. Just don't keep any negative charge inside your body. Try to make it away. Try to be positive. So, for example, anything will change your mood to be better. Try to do it. For example, I am in love of doing lectures. So I know that this thing will make me happy. I'll be happy after delivering a lecture. So I can do. I need to listen. I need to attend any event, virtually or online or offline and so on. It doesn't matter. But try to change the mood. Don't be inside this negativity. Try to escape. Try to be better. And talk and talk and talk. Hats off to you. Really, you added a lot to our knowledge. You are starting every time by terms and finalizing the issue by summarizing it. So hats off to you. And please be with us in discussion because we have another great speaker. We have Dr. Anjum. Let's congratulate you by your success and let's welcome our dear sister, Dr. Anjum. Be with us, Dr. Elizabeth, please. Dr. Anjum, are you with me?
Yes, I'm your ma'am. Thank you very much.
Most welcome, my dear sister. Please join us in discussion.
Yeah.
I
Thank
need
you
to
so
hear
much.
from your side.
Listening to all the sessions.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm audible, ma'am.
Yes, my dear sister.
Are you able to hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So actually,
take your time. Take your time. The floor is yours. Is it okay? Take your time, please.
Okay.
Consider yourself.
Actually, I was listening.
Consider yourself the host now. Okay.
Yep.
So feel free to continue.
Okay. Listening to all the sessions and all the sessions was really very good, and especially the periodic table of emotions that I was saying, and it was really Elizabeth ma'am, she was explaining, and all the emotions that they explained. And one thing that I would like to add from my side is, yes, it is the need of the hour that we need to talk to each other. We need to interact with each other. We need to share our emotions with each other. And that is why that all these problems are arising. Because somewhere due to our busy lifestyle, we are not able to talk to each other. Even the parents are not getting time to talk to their children. The children are not interacting with their parents. So everyone should actually interact with each other. And along with that, something that we need to learn is the human qualities, some very human qualities like kindness, compassion, gratitude, because these are all very positive attitudes that should be learned by everyone. And as a teacher, somewhere in the educational institutions too, we need to develop some kind of activities. Like I am from a technical college, so most of the time, what the people in our college do is they stress so much on having technical lectures, technical activities. But somewhere I feel whether any kind of college, any kind of school that we have, we should be having activities that help the children to develop their mental attitude as well. We should be taught these things like through different activities, the acts of kindness, acts of compassion and gratitude. Because expressing gratitude is somewhere very necessary. Because if you think that just from a cup of tea that we get in the morning, there are so many people involved in it. There are so many people, and right from the people who are working in the plantation, the people who are working in the factory, who have packed the tea for us, and the person who makes the tea for us. So everyone is involved. But the problem here is we never take a pause. we get up, start with the daily routine, we sleep, and again we get up the next day with the same routine. So here's somewhere we should take a pause in life, because when we take a pause, we become calm and we are able to think about rest of the things. So we need to take a pause and we need to feel gratitude. We need to express gratitude to all that we have today. And and empathy that should be learned, because in our college, like what we have started is we have a community based project in which the students will be visiting some places like old age home, orphanages, and all such kind of places, because somewhere because these children, they have mostly they are from good families and they have not seen what actual life is. So we want them to go and explore. So we encourage them, and because earlier normal paid interns, now we have this made it compulsory that every department should be doing a community-based project, and the students should be encouraged for it. So now it is again having a positive impact, because the students are able to go outside the college and they are able to know how the people live in the society. Then they realize that what they have is so much. God has given them so much. God has gifted them so much of things. They have, especially if when we visited a place which had disabled people, there, then I told the students, see, God has given you so beautiful gifts, to eyes, to hands, to legs, by which you can be doing so many things. And if you see how well they are. So, because God has gifted everything. So, what I tell everyone is, life is a gift that has been given to God, and you should utilize it at your best. And the most important thing, which I always say to each other, like, please talk to each other, because talking to each other can give you solutions to many problems. And there is no problem in this world which cannot be solved. So please talk to each other, and so that this mental health that we are talking now. And I must say, all the 4 days I've been listening to this lectures for all the 4 days, and everywhere I am learning more and more, and somewhere we can make a change. And a day comes that we don't need to discuss about mental health so more, because now we are discussing here on this, through this platform, just because we know that is the need of the hour, and mental illness has been increasing, especially after the COVID times. So thank you, Eman. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much, my dear sister, because of your presence with us for today. Thanks a lot. You talked about gratitude. Just I am writing this in the group, but you finished before writing it. You talked about gratitude, and we are thankful and grateful to you because of your presence from the first moment. So hats off to you. Thanks a lot because of your presence. And I need to ask you if you wanted to advise students, parents, family generally, educators. Do you have advice for each one?
Advice is only that what I have already told. We need to talk. And we need to talk especially about this mental problems, because many of times we have seen in the college also that sometimes we are able to detect, okay, this particular student is having some kind of problem. But when we ask them, they are not able to admit. Like, I have also done a course in psychological counseling, so somewhere I am able to know that, okay, this student is having a problem. And if we suggest them, but like, go to a counselor, so this is they just consider it as a stigma. So somewhere we have to open up and we have to understand, because this mental health problems are increasing because the people don't identify it and also don't accept it. So the best thing is we should interact with each other. We should release our emotions in front of others. If I feel to cry, I should cry. That is what should be done. Thank you, ma'am.
Excellent, my dear sister. You touched very important point, and I think your talk and the talk of Dr. Elizabeth are very closer to each other. You already completed each other. Talk, listen, respect, and love, and accept. I think those are keywords of a happy life. We are, all of us are seeking for happiness. We need to make others to be happy, and also we need to make ourselves to be happy. If we are not able to make ourselves be happy, so we need to be a part of happiness of others. So if we are overcoming any problems in our life, so it means that we are clever enough to overcome problems of life, and also we are clever enough to support others. So let's overcome all crises, because the first talk, our dear sister, Dr. Melissa, touched a very important point. She talked about crisis, she talked about COVID-19 and what is done at this time. Also, our dear brother, Dr. Emmanuel, talked about the issue of schools and the social problems inside families also. And finally, Dr. Elizabeth identified many important terms in this issue and differentiated between between all of them. And also she showed a periodic table of love, of happiness, and also how to live your life in a very balanced way. And finally, our dear sister, Dr. Anjum, focused on gratitude. We need to be thankful. We need to be grateful to others. We need to appreciate. We need to accept. We need to love. Thanks a lot for all of you. I think if the life devoid of love, so many problems will come. If the life will be full of love, I think no problem will be happen. So let's overcome all hard life, all hard things all over our life by loving each other, accepting each other, appreciating each other, and let's talk and listen. Let's talk and listen. If you can't talk, at least try to draw, try to write, try to do anything, but don't keep any negative charges inside your body. Don't destroy your body, because as you know, mental and psychological health will affect our physiological health. So don't feel alone. Try to ask for support. Try also to be supportive. If you are trying to be supportive for others, I think you are supporting yourself. I'm very happy when I am supporting others, because I am giving them positive energy, and also it will return to me. When I am smiling in the face of any person, it means that I am happy and I am distributing happiness. So it will return to me. So everything we are doing will be returned to us. If we are distributing sadness or any bad emotions, so it will return to us. If we are distributing love, knowledge, and great things, it will return to us. I think it will increase then return. Thanks a lot for our respected, lovely speakers of the day. I'm very happy for being with all of you today. Today we missed our great reviewer, Dr. Petikar, but we are hoping that he is in a very good health, and appreciation to all of you. Thanks, Dr. Anjum, also for being with us from the first moment. Thanks a lot for our respected speaker, Dr. Melissa, Dr. Emmanuel, and finally, Dr. Elizabeth and Dr. Anjum. You are the last but not the least. So hats off to all of you, and appreciation to Idym founder, Ravi sir, and our dear sister working behind the camera, Madame Ginas, and our lovely daughter, Miss Donnell. So hats off to all of you, and thanks a lot, and see you tomorrow in another session. Thank you, and bye-bye. Bye-bye, Dr. Anjum. Bye-bye, Dr. Elizabeth.
Bye, ma'am. Good night.
Bye. See you, inshallah. Bye-bye. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.